Which is not a chance you even bought these. These are donated or stolen.
The dog in this fight that I have. Yeah, I think the dog that I have is that I think we're overcomplicating worship ministry.
Hayden, please, for the intro of this podcast, everyone listening, leave in that I said this was either donated or stolen.
Why? What's the point of saying that?
I think it's funny. I think people would laugh. Anybody that knows is also going to laugh. And I think it's good. It's not overcomplicating things. Like, we want to talk about, have we overcomplicated worship ministry? Which is the obvious answer is absolutely.
Okay, so you actually agree with me?
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be based on specific churches. There's some churches that don't even think about worship ministry. There's some churches that are like the meeting after the meeting after the meeting and the hallway meeting after the meeting. Let's talk about it in the next meeting. Let's meet about the meeting.
A lot of meetings.
A lot of meetings. What do you do for a living? I meet. You don't do ministry? No. Yeah. I meet all the time. Look at my schedule.
So often when you talk, so often when you talk, I want to laugh, but I've realized like laughing into a microphone's got to get pretty old for people to listen to. So I really try not to laugh as much.
I'm not saying anything that's funny.
No, you're funny. Like the way that you're communicating, that's really funny. And then you sip your LaCroix. You're funny.
Why did you have to say it was LaCroix? You couldn't just say it's water.
Yeah, that's true. So we'll get to meetings, but let's come back just a little bit. We often try to make things become more complex. We overcomplicate them because maybe we've convinced ourselves that they're a lot harder than we think too. Right?
What's a lot harder? The ministry side of it?
The task in front of us.
Oh, the task.
Yeah. So it will take worship out of it for a second, worship ministry, just like with anything. We tend to overcomplicate things when we think, oh, the only way out of this is like this way. We overcomplicate when we think this task is going to be too hard for us to accomplish. That tends to happen.
What are some examples of the task?
Okay. Well, let's make it specific to worship and tech ministry.
I think it's got to be simplified.
Yeah. So let's go
set list.
Scheduling.
Okay. Scheduling
I need
musicians.
I need a drummer this weekend.
Yeah. That's hard actually.
Well, sometimes people go, okay, I need to go into planning center and I need to send out an invite. And then if they don't respond and say they can do it, then I'm going to have to send out another invite. And then if they say that they can't, I'm going to send out another one. And it's just so complicated. I've got so much to do. It's like, dude, pick up the phone and call your drummers and figure out who's available that weekend.
That's insane.
What's insane? My suggestion or the reality?
Picking up your phone and calling somebody.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a perfect example to answer your question of what would be overcomplicating the task in front of us on a very basic level, right? We also overcomplicate service flow. We overcomplicate.
Oh boy, do we.
Training. Or it gets so overcomplicated in our mind that we just don't do it.
Yeah. Sometimes
that will happen. So, yeah.
Those are good tasks. Those are good examples of task. Where does the ministry fall in any of that?
Well, that is a great point you bring. Don't you think sometimes the tasks get in the way of ministry?
Well, yeah, it's your job. You get paid because you sign a document that says these are all your tasks and these are all the characteristic traits you have to work here, and these are all the values of our church, and these are all this, and you are responsible for A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So I just signed the dotted line and said, okay, I'm your guy. So that's my job. But then when you sit down and you're like, okay, but what ministry are you doing? Oh, well, I do this. This is what I signed up for. This is why I work in the church, because hopefully if I do my job right here, it sets someone else up to do ministry. If I do this task as a worshiper, it sets my pastor up to do the ministry.
I don't think there's anything wrong with some of that, though.
But what are you called to?
We're getting paid. Yeah, well, okay, we'll get to that. But what are you paid to do? We have jobs.
Yeah.
And if you're not paid.
I'm not saying doing the task is wrong.
Yeah.
I'm just saying so often staying on topic, we overcomplicate, we overthink, we over-rehearse, we over-prepare, we over this, that we forget
Yeah.
The
So,
ministry
so
side
another
of
way to
things.
put it is like we're so focused on the objectives we forgot about the mission.
Yeah, and we've talked about this before. It's the task at hand will always trump what we need, what we actually need to be doing, because the task is laid out. It's easy to do. It's maybe not easy to do, but it's easy to track, right? Because it's what I'm paid to do. So I do that. That's my 40 hours a week. I get paid, but I work close to 12, and that's my job.
Yeah. Do you think that serving in worship ministry as a worship pastor, leading a tech team, oftentimes volunteers, do you think that's unmanageable for one person to do?
No.
No. And what about scale? Like small church versus large church? Do you think, well, a large church, yeah, it's unmanageable for one person to lead that. It's like a full-time, like it's their full-time responsibility. Do you think it scales with the size of church or no?
I just think you're not a leader. If you cannot do it at any
Wow.
scale, you're not a leader.
So person listening to this is worship pastor of a 2,000 person church.
You're trying to do it all by themselves?
Yeah.
You're not a good leader.
Well, they have a volunteer team.
Okay.
They're going to have
So
volunteers.
they're not by themselves.
Yeah, but I'm saying
But if I'm
they're
the
the
worship,
only ones dedicating their full-time efforts to this ministry.
but if I'm the worship leader, and I have, or worship pastor, and I'm the paid guy or the paid girl, and I have 47 volunteers, and all 47 volunteers answer to me, I'm a bad leader. If I have a big church and I'm the worship pastor and I have 18 full-time staff under me and they all answer to me, I'm a bad leader. You have no sort of structure for org chart to make sure you're successful, because you have to have the answer for everything and you have to be the one that leads everyone individually. That is bad leadership. If you're a worship pastor of a small church and you have 13 volunteers, but 3 of those volunteers are identified as people who carry influence and people who can lead, those are your lead team. And then you separate out 3 or 4 under them. You have an actual org chart structure, staff or not, doesn't matter. You're going to be way more of an effective leader. This is leadership 101, right? You're going to be way more of an effective leader if you have a structure in place that can protect you so that you can actually be an effective leader. If you are a worship pastor and you're listening to this and you are trying to lead everybody and you're miserable out of your mind.
For those listening who can't see, he kind of gave an eye roll there. So
I didn't give an eye roll. I just said
that's.
I just put
They
my
still
hands.
can't see you. They still can't see
Oh, they
you.
still can't see me. I put my hands up in the air, and I am implying that you are a bad leader.
There you go, listener. So it's interesting to hear you verbalize all that, because you think sometimes it comes back to mission and values, though, too, of the organization. Because a leader, some churches, it's gotten pretty complex. We've got a full-time lighting guy. We're talking large churches now for a second. But, full-time lighting person. We've got a video director on staff. We've got some have paid musicians. So do you think that's just like a values and culture thing? Like that church just decided we don't want to have a volunteer team. We don't want to have to we don't really want to have a manager of a large team. We just kind of want to have like key skilled players. Would you see it that way?
But they need leadership. So who's giving them the leadership?
Yeah.
Who's providing them the day-to-day leadership? I'm not saying who's scheduling them. That's not leadership. If you, I'm getting too blunt, but if you're like, yeah, I'm a leader because I schedule volunteers.
Yeah.
You're not. That doesn't make you a leader.
Yeah.
So,
I just want to make my point a little bit. I want to ask the question with a little bit more context. The reason I bring that up is because sometimes I think our complexity comes from like a surplus of time. Actually, I think sometimes we overcomplicate because we actually have a lot of time on our hands, but we got to fill that time somehow. So we add complexity. So there is a leader listening right now that is like, that's not me. I do not have enough time. I actually am bivocational. When I show up at the church, I'm just trying to make sure the stuff is together. Our team's able to pray together. We're able to care for people, connect with them, lead our congregation. Like, way to go. Keep going. Like, keep going. I believe there are so many people out there that are in that position. There are also some people who have a surplus of time. And I'm curious to get your thoughts on this, Dylan, but I believe oftentimes that surplus of time just leads to complexity. And from that complexity, we actually totally miss out on the mission. Like we add objectives, complexity, right? And then the mission just kind of gets lost. And it's like, well, yeah, Pastor, I'm not able to take my volunteers out to coffee and care for them because I build tracks for every weekend. You know, I'm a gifted,
Tracks builder.
Tracks builder.
There's gifted tracks builders out there.
Sure. But you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I do totally get what you're saying. Do
you see it that way? Like, do you see some of this coming from just a surplus of time? In your personal experience, like, what have you?
My personal experience, I get paid 40 hours a week. I work 10, and I would always say, or knew someone who would say, I don't have time for anything. So and I'm full timer. So how many full timers in ministry, specifically in the worship and production ministry? How hard is it to get a hold of you? And if your response is, well, because I'm too busy. Yeah. Bro. I could squeeze this class.
Yeah. I want to be careful because I know that there are people.
Like when I say I got paid 40 hours a week, I was in the office 40 hours a week.
Yeah, but you're playing Call of Duty.
But I worked. No, I don't play Call of Duty. But I really worked. How many hours did I actually work? How many hours do you actually work listening to this? I'm not saying the 9-to-5er volunteer who works 9 to 5 still has to be a dad in the afternoons. Yeah. In fact, different podcasts for a different day. The relationship between a volunteer full-timer and a full-timer staff. That would be a good podcast. But setting aside that, going back to overcomplicating things, I think, yes, because we overcomplicate things, it forces our hand to focus more on tasks because of surplus of time. We have all these things we have to do, and therefore we leave out everything we should be doing.
Yeah.
But yes, the surplus time thing, yes, but it also varies because, not to talk about what I said should be another podcast, but yes, you do have a volunteer worship leader who may be the only person who answers to the pastor for the entire worship ministry is a volunteer who works already 40, 50 hours a week on their JOB, their job, which is not ministry, or it's not church work. And then they have baseball practice with their kids, just like we do. They have all these things, and they got to come in and then figure out, absolutely. But the full-timer, the person who is paid 40 hours a week and doesn't have time to do anything, that is what fires me up the most. And I would talk specifically more to that person, I think, in this moment, and say, you need to figure your structures out and put a better system in place of leadership to protect you.
We need a whiteboard because there's some stuff I want to write down here. But
do you want to use my?
It's okay. So we need an overhead shot at some point. We can just like write stuff down here. I want to hit a couple things that get very practical about how we should use our time more wisely, because I think it's very connected. The surplus of time or perceived deficit of time that we are faced with is directly correlated with how we overcomplicate our ministries. Okay? So as a worship leader, worship pastor, tech leader, tech operator, I don't care what your position is. If you are vocationally, let's take vocation out actually. Like if you are in a leadership role in your church, whether you're getting paid or not, and I said I don't care about position, I'm saying like I don't care about your position in the leadership if you're on the technical side or the worship side. You're a leader in the worship and tech ministry. You have a few responsibilities that are non-negotiable in my mind. I'll be curious if you disagree with me on this, Dylan. I feel very passionately. You have a priestly role. You are a shepherd of your people. How can you shepherd people if you're lost? Mm-hmm. So first you got to be in the Word. And guess what? That's not your job. Mm-hmm. That's not a part of your role in the ministry. That's who you are. That is what qualifies you for your role in the ministry. Right? Mm-hmm. So reading your Bible is not a work day activity. Maybe you have a moment in the worship set. You can disagree in a second. Maybe you have a moment in your worship set that requires some teaching from you and you need to prepare for that. That's different. But reading your Bible and spending time with the Lord is not a part of your task as a leader in that ministry? Do you disagree?
No.
Okay.
In fact, I was going to be cynical and like poke fun of it, but no, I do not disagree at all.
Okay.
The fact that we even have to say that, it just blows my mind. But how many of us know people that say,
Yeah.
well,
I got to go to the coffee shop at 9 and read my Bible.
Yeah.
And maybe at 10, I'll open up Planning Center.
And then,
or we're going to read a couple people's mail right here.
And
okay?
then I'm going to go to lunch at
so
11.
I'm going to go to a lunch, paid for lunch with maybe a volunteer, maybe not a volunteer. I don't know.
As long as it's paid for, who cares?
God's will, God's bill,
Yeah.
baby. And then afternoon, I'm tired. I just had lunch, so I might go get some more coffee.
Yep.
And then I'm going to go back. I actually just got a package in for new guitar strings. I'm going to restring my guitar.
Has to be
Got
done.
to get ready for Sunday.
Got to get ready for Sunday.
And 3 p.m.'s rolling around, and I got to pick my kids up from school.
Oh, yeah, because who's going to pick them up? They can't ride the bus.
And I pick them up, and it's practically dinner time now.
Mhm.
Okay. Now, if you're listening to this and you feel like we just came at you, I'm very sorry. But we see that, and
that is the most common scenario.
Okay, and I just got to be honest. I've done it.
Yeah,
I've literally done it.
I've done it. I've already admitted I've done that.
I've done it.
lived that life.
So we just all need to be really honest. That is laziness.
Yeah.
So that's not overcomplicating. That's literally just laziness.
But that same person also, if you're saying, I am so busy, I don't have time for people.
Yeah.
Because that's your schedule.
I don't want to talk about that too much, though, because we can all just agree, and I hope you listeners can agree too. That's ridiculous, and don't do that. Okay? So get out of that stage of laziness. We were talking about overcomplication. So there's laziness, there's overcomplication. Let's find a different pathway. And so what are the core responsibilities, though? I think the number one responsibility as a leader in worship and tech ministry is to care for your people. I think that's probably the number one responsibility. Would you disagree with that?
No.
Because without your people, you literally can't do anything. You can't do the rest of your job is going to fail. Sunday services won't happen. You're not going to have people. And guess what? If you don't take care of your people, you'll be able to pull off Sunday services for a little while. And your people eventually leave, and dun, dun, dun. Now we have this volunteer turnover that we see in many churches because people don't get taken care of. So as a leader, before you turn a knob, before you do anything, it's shepherd your people, take care of your people. That means pastor your people, not just lead them and over-communicate call times and set lists and so on and so forth, like pastor your people.
Mm-hmm.
Your title may not be worship pastor, but I believe, and I think you should subscribe to the belief as well, that you have a priestly role as a shepherd in your church. Number one responsibility. How much time, Dylan, I'm curious to hear from you, how much time do you think it takes on a weekly basis to care for your people? And obviously, like you said, there needs to be a leadership structure. There's probably a leadership book out there that says you should never lead more than 12 people. I don't know what that gold number is, but
that'd be the Bible. Is that the leadership book you're pulling from? 12.
So that's really funny.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
Jesus.
100%.
Okay.
12. Yeah. So let's
Get
just
it.
stick with Jesus' model.
Right.
12.
That'd be a good model to start with.
Okay. So
I still think 12 is too many.
okay, but let's just say 12.
Yeah.
How much time does it take on a weekly basis to care and shepherd 12 people?
I don't know if I can answer the question in the way that you maybe want me to,
It's not a loaded question. I'm curious.
based off data.
Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what it takes.
It's doing life. It's your homies, your friends. It's constant relationship. It's your community. It's your group. It's your people.
So if that's number one responsibility,
Sending a text message out every week at Tuesday at 9 a.m. and says, "Hey, I love you and I'm praying for you."
Yeah.
I do not think that's effective.
Yeah.
When I receive that from a leader in the worship ministry that I have no relationship with, I'm from a ministry background, so of course I may lean more cynical in this moment, but I'm saying, okay, great. Thank you for texting me that. You can now check that off your list of your ministry responsibilities.
Yeah. So what I'm getting at is, like, there might be some weeks that all you're doing is people. All you're doing is connecting with people. You got lunches stacked every single day. You've got morning coffee stacked every single day. That could be a week that happens for you.
I know people that have that week too.
Yeah, and that is not overcomplicating. That is actually in your lane.
But they have systems and processes in place that protect the task, because the tasks still need to get done.
Yeah.
I know people, and their 40 hours a week is pastoral care at worship positions. but they have structure and volunteers and staff in place. So let's just take out staff because majority of churches don't have staff. Structures and volunteers in place. Every church can have structures and volunteers in place. I don't care if you have 3 people in your worship ministry. You can have structures and volunteers that carry the weight of the responsibility to make sure the tasks are getting done. So again, if you're listening to this, you're going, well, I am so drawn to, I would love for my schedule to be 40 hours a week, meeting with volunteers and meeting with my staff or teams or whatever, my people.
Yeah.
But I can't do that because I have so many tasks that I'm either paid to do or I've signed up to volunteer to do.
So this is, and we're bringing it full circle here. And that is the art of overcomplication in the ministry.
Mm-hmm.
The task, it's like, hey, what's your number one assignment? And we could get to some other assignments here too. We're just trying to really drive home the point. Like the main thing being the one-on-one ministry. Like your role on the platform is not your primary ministry. That is a task and it needs to happen. Don't overcomplicate the task. Don't try to rearrange a song that has already been arranged by a talented artist for worship context. Don't try to rearrange it. Just do it the way that it was arranged. Don't build your own tracks. Just go get them from multitracks.com. They do a great job. Maybe someday you want to get a little fancy. You've got the resources, you got the time, whatever. Don't overcomplicate those tasks for now.
Mm-hmm. That is a good point. There are thousands of resources out there. I was going to say hundreds at first, but I feel like there could be at least 1,000 resources out there to help you with your task that are affordable and free.
Well, I mean, look, like I'll shamelessly talk about MxU for a second. We're literally an out-of-the-box solution for you to train your worship and tech team. And some people are like, I just can't get around to training because the amount of time that's going to take for me to develop the plan and then meet with everybody. It's impossible. That's why MxU exists. That's why we're so passionate about what we do, because we felt that very pain. And so we wanted to help you solve it. So don't overcomplicate it, because I get why you haven't trained your team sufficiently enough. And I get that it might take multiple full-time people's attention to be able to solve that issue, which is why there's an out-of-box solution like MxU to do that. That's why there's an out-of-box solution like Planning Center to help you schedule your teams. That's why there's out-of-box solutions like Multitracks. These companies aren't trying to do anything but help you because we're church people who came from this conviction that these tasks are taking over the ministry. Let's get back to the people, right?
Yeah.
So the question for you, listener, and the question that we are asking ourselves here is like, what can we be doing to not just reduce complexity? It's not for the sake of reducing complexity. It's for the sake of getting back to the mission of our assignment and what we're supposed to be doing in this priestly role we have in the local church as a leader of a ministry. Does that make sense?
Yep.
What are the gotchas here though? I want to better understand. What do you think the gotchas are? What you guys are saying just sounds so good, but you're too far disconnected. What about this? What about that? I wish there was a live chat section we could get in right now, because I'm sure there's things we're not considering, But do you have any thoughts on that? Expectations of leaders being, misaligned. I could totally see some people going, yeah, I want to be with people. I want to do this, but my pastor actually said he wants an opener. He wants this. He wants that. So those expectations have been set for me. Or tech person, you're actually under the leadership of your worship leader, and your worship leader is saying, I need this. And all these expectations are unrealistic. And so now you're met with these tasks and you can't even get back to.
I still think with the right structures and the right systems and the right people in place, all the way to the very bottom,
all those tasks can be
accomplished, and it can be accomplished well. When you hear this and you go, I have to do all this, it's all on me. My worship pastor comes to me as a TD and says, here's what I want to do. And you go, oh, I carry the weight of all of that. I'm not going to call you a bad leader. I'm just going to say, rethink, reposition your mind. For one day, make leadership priority for you, and look around, find those people who carry that influence, and begin to have conversations with people and say, hey, I feel like God has more in store for you. I feel like you can step into a bigger position in this organization. What do you feel? How do you feel about this? Do you feel God's calling you to maybe a leadership position on this team? Do you feel like God's given you influence naturally? Do you feel like you have the ability to lead people? Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Well, then I think we're on the same page. How do you feel about coming on a leadership team that I'm putting together, and this team is going to be over resources for the worship ministry? That doesn't necessarily mean you have to do it. I'm not trying to reposition tasks, but in your department, you will now be responsible for all things on the platform. I'm talking to the church that's volunteer.
Yeah.
You are now, this might be a music director position if you want to look for a title, or this might be so that music director position that's a volunteer in your church now is now going to schedule your bands, make sure they're pulling in the right tracks for multi-tracks, make sure the keys are right. And this person wants to give them an opportunity to serve the local church. If you feel like you have to hold on tight because it's not going to be done perfect and it's not going to be done the way pastor wants it done, I just feel like I have to do it because it's just easier for me to do it. All I'm saying is reposition and realign your thinking. More than likely, you're not doing a good job at it either because you're probably getting burned out. Yeah. And it's time to open those eyes, man. It's time to get out there and see people that want to help you grow.
Yeah.
Be willing to win as a team.
I totally agree with that. I will call out that there are many organizations out there that will put tasks before people.
Yeah.
And I've struggled with this personally in various environments. If you are a leader in your organization listening to this and you're going, yeah, I totally agree with everything you guys are saying, but at the end of the day, I just consistently find myself being put in situations by my leaders that for me to be able to effectively do my job well, I have to put tasks before people. I can't succeed here unless I put tasks before people. What that realistically looks like is we're doing Christmas services. I have to keep my people here till 2 a.m. on Christmas morning to get this loadout done so we don't have to pay extra fees on the rental. I have to use this same volunteer 4 weeks in a row because these other bass players are not up to the standards that my worship leader wants for our team. And so this one person is going to get burnt out. And I see it. We all see it, but the task is just too important. And if you have been put in a situation where you're like, hey, but what about our people? Pastor, I hear you. I hear that you want to do that thing in the ministry. And I think maybe we could get there someday. And the reason we're not there today may be a problem with my leadership. And I want to figure that out. But Pastor, I'm telling you, this is going to hurt our people. And they go, it doesn't matter, get the task done. My encouragement to you, person, would be to get up and walk out and leave that church as a leader. Maybe continue to attend it if that's your faith community, so on and so forth. But that conviction, that dissension that you feel is that you are not the right leader for that organization.
Right.
If you see people as too important, then, hey, be comforted. You and I are alike in that. And I believe I'm right in that conviction, but look, I who knows? I could be proven wrong. But all that to say, be bold and recognize I am not the right leader for this organization. Don't force it. I've been there. It is a painful thing to be a part of when you so badly want to be a great leader in an organization, but the organization has different values than you have. And so you are forced to complicate the task in front of you so that you can be in alignment with the organization. Go back to people. Go back to the reason why you said yes to doing this in the first place. Mm-hmm. Don't sacrifice your people for the task at hand.
I've lived that scenario in real life. I've lived in that scenario. And we learned often it's not the organization, it's just your direct supervisor.
But doesn't that all boils up to the leader, right?
Maybe not.
Their leader.
There just could be a disconnect.
Yeah, I could see that.
But it might not be their leader saying, so real life scenario, I worked at a church and I put goals down on a piece of paper, and a lot of those goals, and our staff didn't do goals. Like we just didn't have goals at this particular church I worked at. My background was goals from the church I worked at before. We were very important, and all of my goals in my role, it was all people driven. It was I want to win other ministry leaders because we don't have a good reputation with other ministries. because we're last minute. We're the creatives. We're last minute, and we say no often, and then we do what we want. I could discern that. I was like, I want to do that. I want to have this many volunteers at all of our campuses. I want to have this care structure going and be identified at all of our campuses. And my supervisor legitimately looked at me and said, "You're not going to do any of that. Your job is to make sure we are the better show on the weekend." I don't think I made it 90 days after that conversation.
Yeah.
I'm not saying that I was like Mr. Holy and Mr. Great Leader, and I was like, I'm going to stick it to him and leave, because that's not what I'm called to. But it didn't take long after that to realize I'm in a bad spot.
Yeah.
I can stay here, live the dream, or I can go do what I actually feel like I'm called to do, which is put on great weekend experiences. Like, I want to be a part of that process, but it just is simply not my calling.
That's step 2. Like, to me, I'm like, you can't have a great weekend experience if you don't have a team.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah.
But what it boiled down to was not the organization. It was not this person's leadership saying, put this on Dylan and make sure it wasn't. There was just a disconnect. It was my direct supervisor that was the one making that decision, because of whatever this individual was going through personally. It reflected on me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know if we're overemphasizing, but we are bringing a lot of emphasis to this role we have as leaders of our people, going back to people, because we see it so commonly skipped in the church. Of course, there are other priorities when we're leading God's people in worship. If you're the person on the platform, if you're the person in the tech booth, there are real responsibilities that come that are not just tasks, but, like, again, flowing from who we are as people. And I think those mentorship is a great example as a worship leader. Your job is to lead people in worship. If your voice isn't very good, you need to get your voice better. You need to find mentorship.
Or stop singing.
Or stop singing, sure. But let's just say there's some area, you're actually a great singer, but, like, there's some ways that you sing that are distracting to people. Take ownership of that. Go find coaching. But
when you
take
get coached,
course.
do you get coached during your week, or do you get coached after hours?
No, I say get coached during your week. It's part of your job. Okay. Now, that's my personal opinion. Now, if you're spending days on days and days practicing, you're getting in the studio trying to get your voice better, and you're skipping your people, your priorities are out of whack.
Why do volunteers, and we all have those volunteers, why do they want to work so bad at your church? Because they see your schedule.
That's a good question.
They see your schedule, and they go, man, I'd love to spend 3 or 4 hours on my pedal board. I'd love to have that life. I'd love to go to 3 or 4 hour lunches, because they see your schedule.
Yeah.
If they knew what ministry actually was.
Well, I've said this when I stopped working in full-time vocational ministry, I had a couple years of depressing days of showing up to a job grinding, going like, I remember going to my first, I'd just gotten this job in a tech company, just a normal job, suit and tie job.
You wore a suit and tie?
I didn't wear ties most days.
Okay.
I didn't wear like full jacket, but like I was, collared.
You had to like dress up a little bit.
Yeah. I remember I got the job and I asked my employer, I legit thought that I was being an overachiever. I was like, yeah, so like, be here at 9. Or no, I didn't even say that. I just said, what time? I was thinking in my head, like, he's going to say 9 o'clock. So what time should I be here? Like, I'm just thinking like, yeah, 9 o'clock. He's like, yeah, usually we're here about 8. I was like, what?
Like 8 in the morning?
8 in the morning? I'm sitting here going like, dude, my whole life is like, I remember going home telling Olivia, like, this is, and then I'm sitting there working and people are like, I'm going to go take my lunch break. And I'm like, so you all clock in and clock out for that? Like, no, but like, it only takes 30 minutes or so. I'm like, not even an hour?
That's insane.
And then,
here's my schedule.
I'm like, oh, well, traffic. I got 4 o'clock. So I just, again, not to beat that whole narrative up again, all that to say, I'm just saying.
He stopped me. Here's my schedule.
But I will say, I think there is something to that, Dylan. Like, because a lot of our volunteers, tradesmen, they're doing normal people life stuff in their jobs, and they're seeing like, Oh yeah, on my lunch break, I quickly went to the deli down the street to grab a sandwich, and I saw my worship buddies at the coffee shop next door, and they were chilling there on their phones talking about something. Yeah, like that sounds like a great time.
Awesome.
Looks awesome. So I think it is an important question. So that is something else I would just add on to here, taking your point for you. Also just model for the other people, if you are paid, well, this is easy. This is an easy challenge to you. These people who you're responsible for leading, your volunteers on your teams, they're paying for your salary.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe just think about that. Go a layer deeper and go, okay, these people are tithing to the church and giving their time. I am now responsible for maybe I'm not responsible for stewarding the money they give. Somebody gave me a salary. No, I'm stewarding the time that they're allowing me to have here. And so how dare we in that moment then lead them into a place of envy of going, man, I wish I could be that person that has all that free time that I'm actually paying for to have all that free time. So if you're paid, just consider that for a second. Okay. If you're not paid, I feel for you. It's hard. You are like rising up to this leadership challenge, and you're sacrificing above and beyond these other people who you've been tasked to lead. And I would say I don't see that as much being the issue. I don't see that person being the person with too much time on their hands. But I would say, don't overcomplicate the tasks in front of you.
Yeah.
Just recognize that the tasks will take care of themselves if you can focus on leading a team,
yes,
investing in people who will then help you accomplish those tasks in the long run. It might mean you need to do acoustic sets for a while. It might mean you need to tell your pastor, I agree that we should go there, but I don't know how to get there yet. Can you give me a little bit of time? I need to get a team in place.
And it might be, like you've already said, if you cannot align with your pastor may say, no, that's not what I want from you in this position, whether you're paid or not. What I need from you in this position, I need you to be the one to do the task because I know you will do it the right way. I'm not opening up conversation for you to have someone else do your task. Then it might be over time and really honest conversations, time for you to leave. And go find leadership and a vision and a mission you can grab a hold onto that simply puts people first.
Yeah. And we talk about vision and mission a lot, but like that's just biblical too. So I'm not trying to do the black and white, like, well, if they're telling you that they're wrong. There's a lot of nuance here, but just let's go back to like biblical principles and what our roles are. Again, when we say we have a priestly role in the church, what does that look like today and in today's day in the church? So it's a good discussion. Cap it off. Don't focus on simplifying. Focus on getting to the right things. Don't overcomplicate. Don't try to whittle these tasks down. Just focus on the right things, and the other things are going to work out. The right things are your people. The right things are the areas that you've been entrusted to perform your job, your skill. You need to get better at your skill. Your time with the Lord happens before or after work. Obviously, you can be with the Lord in your working time, but your own personal devo, that's not your job. That's who you are. That's what qualifies you for this leadership role that you've been put in. So we try to obviously put action to these words. We've talked about a team night guide a lot around here. If you're new to this podcast, might be new to you. Team night guide is the easiest way to put a stake in the ground and go, I am going to focus on priority number one, which is shepherding my people. Before I can shepherd people from the platform, I got to shepherd my team, the people that are in front of me sitting face to face. First step you can do that is do a team night. Lead a team night at your church. We give you a free template to follow and how to go about doing that. We'll link it in the description below. We're very passionate about it. And I think it's just going to be the start for you and how you start to turn some of this around and go back to priority number one and not overcomplicating the task we have as worship and tech leaders. So check it out. Got nothing to lose. It's free. Thanks for joining us on the podcast, and we will see you next time.